We noticed the helicopter not that long ago, and we were like, "Oh, what's going on?" And we noticed that they were searching for Elena. Not even 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, like everybody started coming up, like the police, fire. We actually work out at the gym, the Planet Fitness that she went to, and I'm like, "Oh gosh, like that's scary." So scary that she went missing from there.
Thursday night, Lexington, South Carolina. A woman signs into her gym at 6:40. By morning, she's gone. The cameras kept rolling. She kept walking, and then nothing. For 6 days, search teams combed the area. Volunteers walked the tree line. A drone passed over the woods again and again, looking for any trace of her. Then came a tip. Then came a wooded area off a quiet road. Then came a body. And on Friday, the coroner confirmed what so many had feared. The woman in the woods was Elena Katherine Moore. But knowing who she is doesn't answer why she's gone. It doesn't explain why a friend says Elena was scared for her life. It doesn't explain a doorbell video, one that shows Elena confused, disoriented, telling a stranger she didn't know what she was doing. And it doesn't explain what happened in the hours after she left that gym and before she ended up in those trees.
We noticed the helicopter not that long ago, and we were like, "Oh, what's going on?" And we noticed that they were searching for Elena. Not even 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, like everybody started coming up, like the police, fire. We actually work out at the gym, the Planet Fitness that she went to, and I'm like, "Oh gosh, like that's scary." So scary that she went missing from there.
Lexington isn't a big city. It's the kind of place where a missing person case doesn't stay contained to one street or one family. It spreads. Within days, Elena's photo was everywhere, shared on local pages, taped in store windows, passed between people who had never met her but recognized the places in her story. A Planet Fitness half the town has a membership to. A Publix parking lot most locals have driven through 1,000 times without thinking twice. A stretch of road called Old Cherokee, ordinary enough that nobody imagined it would end up at the center of a death investigation. That familiarity is part of why this case grabbed hold of people the way it did. It wasn't happening somewhere far away, to someone unknown. It was happening on a route people drive every week.
Complete devastation. Even though it's not confirmed, we, the town of Lexington, the community, we knew it was her.
Before she was a headline, Elena Katherine Moore was 39 years old, and she was, by most accounts, exactly where she wanted to be in life. She worked as a personal trainer at Wolf's Fitness Center in Lexington, a job built on routine, discipline, showing up early, pushing clients through one more set. People who trained with her described someone strong, someone steady, not the kind of person who simply vanishes. She'd gotten married the year before to a man named Brannon Slice. By outward appearances, a new chapter, a fresh start. None of that explains what came next, but it matters because every theory in this case eventually runs through the same question. Who was Elena Moore in the weeks before she disappeared? And was the woman her friends describe the same woman captured on camera that final night? On Thursday, June 11th, Elena signed into a Planet Fitness on Whiteford Way. 6:40 in the evening, ordinary, routine, the kind of check-in she'd done 100 times before. Surveillance cameras caught her leaving. She walked away from the gym, not toward her car, but toward a wooded area behind a nearby Lowe's home improvement store. Hours later, more cameras picked her up again. A Publix parking lot, 9:17 p.m. Still wearing the same outfit, an olive green zip-up hoodie, black athletic pants. Walking now toward Old Cherokee Road. That's the last confirmed image anyone has of her alive. Detectives still don't know whether she had her phone with her that night. No calls logged, no texts, no location pings to trace her after that point. After 9:17 p.m. Silence. Elena didn't come home. Her husband, Brannon Slice, reported her missing the next day, June 12th. Lexington Police Department Inspector Missy Silcox later told reporters the disappearance was very out of character for Elena. Not a woman who skips work, not a woman who goes quiet on the people who love her. Something was wrong. On that, everyone who knew her seemed to agree. What they didn't agree on was what kind of wrong. The search that followed was immediate, and it was extensive. Officers walked the area on foot, working out from the last known sighting in widening loops.
Yeah, thank you, JR. I'm located on Old Cherokee Road here in Lexington, where the road has been blocked off after they were conducting the middle of a search for Elena Moore. And of course, this development comes as authorities are continuing to search for 39-year-old Elena Moore, who has been missing since last Friday. But earlier today, this all started where officers focused their search in the woods.
A drone swept overhead, scanning the tree cover near Old Cherokee Road, looking for anything a search team on the ground might miss. A flash of olive green against the brush, a disturbed patch of leaves, anything. Friends, family, and people from the community who'd never met Elena joined in too, sharing her photo, watching for anything at all. A piece of clothing, a footprint, a sign she'd passed through. Days went by without a real break in the case. The search area was large. The terrain was thick in places, and without a clear starting point beyond that final parking lot sighting, investigators were working with a wide radius and very little to narrow it. Then, investigators caught something in the surveillance footage that reshaped the search. Reviewed more closely, the Publix parking lot footage showed a clear direction of travel. Elena heading toward Old Cherokee Road, and from there, seemingly toward her own home. A private investigator working alongside the family, Harry Dukes of a Columbia-based firm, called the footage very helpful, but incomplete.
Old Cherokee Road near Berkshire Drive blocked off on Wednesday after a tip to authorities. People who live in the Berkshire community right near the site where the body was found say they had SLED officers come into their doors on Wednesday.
A couple guys show up at my door there. They're from SLED. They show me their badge and everything. And they're looking for her, and they're asking around the neighborhood if I have seen a picture of this woman. And I said, no, I have not seen.
Speaking publicly about the case, Dukes said it confirmed where she'd been walking. It didn't confirm what happened to her once she got there. "We just don't know the circumstances," Dukes said. That single sentence would end up defining the entire case. Investigators had a direction. They didn't have an explanation. While searchers combed the woods, a different piece of footage surfaced, and it pulled the story in a direction nobody expected. A Ring doorbell camera mounted at a home about half a mile from the gym where Elena worked. The timestamp, June 4th, 1 full week before she vanished.
Hey. You mind if I take a picture of it? Oh, yeah. You can take that one. I just want to take a picture of the door.
Yep.
The homeowners, Sarah Burleson and John Moore, said Elena approached their door that evening, not long after a DoorDash order had been dropped off. Elena picked the bag up, as though it belonged to her. When John opened the door, she handed him the food without hesitation. Then she tried to follow him inside. "Whenever she started to walk in the house with me," John later said, "she seemed really confused and disoriented about where she was, or whatever she was doing." About an hour after that, Sarah spotted Elena again, this time going through a neighbor's packages on a different porch. When Sarah asked what she was doing, Elena reportedly told her simply that she didn't know. The couple held onto the footage and eventually turned it over to police. It became public on June 16th, right as the search for Elena was entering its most urgent stretch. Friends who later watched the clip noticed something else beyond the confusion. Elena was breathing heavily in it, panting, almost like she'd been moving hard or under stress. One friend, Sandra Campbell, said that wasn't the Elena her training clients knew. "That's not what she looks like in the gym," Campbell said, "even when she's working out." A week of disorientation, a week of silence after that, and then gone. As the search dragged into its later days, the people closest to Elena began speaking publicly, and their accounts didn't always point the same way. Sandra Campbell described a brunch with Elena on May 31st, less than 2 weeks before the disappearance. She said Elena's behavior that day was unusual, restless, on edge, getting up from the table again and again, glancing out the window, scanning the room like she was watching for someone. Campbell said Elena told her plainly she was scared for her life. In a later interview, Campbell went further. She said she personally suspected foul play. She also claimed that Elena and her husband had reportedly been trying to separate. That detail, about the state of the marriage, has not been confirmed by police. It comes from one friend's account, given publicly but unverified, worth holding on to, not worth treating as fact. A second friend, Lauren Beasley, painted a different picture entirely. Beasley said she'd last spoken with Elena about a month before the disappearance. In that conversation, Elena hadn't said anything personal. Nothing about her marriage, nothing about trouble at home, nothing that raised a flag in the moment. But looking back, Beasley noticed something else. Elena had gone quiet on social media, no posts for roughly a month. For a woman who normally shared often, that silence felt abnormal to someone who knew her well. So now, investigators and the public had two threads pulling in opposite directions. One, a woman who told a friend directly that she was afraid. Two, a woman who, according to a second friend, gave no outward sign of trouble at all, but had quietly withdrawn from the world around her. Neither account, on its own, explains what happened next. Fear doesn't rule out a crisis. Withdrawal doesn't rule out danger. Both could be true at once. That's the uncomfortable part of this case. The accounts don't contradict each other so much as they sit side by side, unresolved. There's a third thread running through this story, and it complicates both of the others. Reports have surfaced suggesting that around the time of the doorbell footage, Elena may have been taken to a hospital, and that the visit led to a brief stay at a mental health facility. That detail has not been confirmed through any official police statement. It comes from secondary reporting, and it should be treated exactly that way. Reported, not verified, and not the basis for any conclusion.
No contact delivery, but somebody rang the doorbell twice. So we got up and went to the door, and there sat Miss Moore, like how you say her name? Elena. There sat Elena with our DoorDash order reading the receipt. She seemed kind of out of breath.
Whenever the DoorDash went off, or the Ring camera went off twice, he went to answer it, and I pulled up our Ring camera on my phone, so I was watching it while he was answering. And at first, all we saw was Miss Moore at the door as our DoorDash lady.
And we thought it was our DoorDash lady, Jessica.
Yes.
Which is the black lady who actually did set the food down in the very beginning of the video.
And then when...
So once I got the food from her, I turned around to walk back in the house, and she took one step forward like she was going to walk in the house with me. And I turned around and looked at her, and she was like, "Oh, just a delivery?" I said, "Yeah."
When rumors built around this detail started circulating, Sandra Campbell pushed back hard. She said Elena's only documented history was anxiety. Nothing more, nothing diagnosed beyond that. According to Campbell, the real cracks in Elena's life had started showing weeks earlier, not as a single sudden break, but as something building slowly underneath the surface that only became visible in hindsight. That's the tension sitting at the center of this entire case. Was Elena Moore a woman in danger from something or someone outside herself? Or was she a woman quietly moving through a private crisis that the people around her only partly understood, one that ended in tragedy on its own? Right now, neither possibility has been ruled out by investigators, and neither has been confirmed. It's worth noting how rarely cases actually fit cleanly into one box or the other. Real investigations are messier than the categories true crime stories like to use. A person can be frightened of something real and also be struggling privately with their mental health at the very same time, in the very same week. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Investigators will need physical evidence, not just competing narratives from people who loved her, to determine which factor or which combination of factors actually led to her death. On Wednesday, June 17th, 6 days after Elena vanished, a community tip gave investigators something concrete to work with for the first time. Officers and fire personnel moved into a wooded area near the intersection of Old Cherokee Road and North Lake Drive, close to where Elena had last been seen walking that night. Shortly before 3 p.m., they found a body. Lexington Police Chief Terrence Green addressed reporters directly afterward. The body, he said, fit the clothing description of the missing woman. The same olive green hoodie, the same black athletic pants she'd been wearing in the final surveillance images. Police asked the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, to step in and lead the death investigation from that point forward. For 2 days, the case sat in a kind of limbo. The clothing matched, the location matched the path she'd last been seen walking, but nothing was confirmed, not officially, not yet. On Friday, June 19th, the Lexington County Coroner's Office ended that uncertainty. The body recovered near Old Cherokee Road and North Lake Drive was Elena Katherine Moore. For her family, for her friends, for a town that had spent 6 days searching. An answer, finally, just not the one anyone had hoped for, and not the only question that mattered. Because confirming Elena's identity didn't confirm how she died. It didn't confirm why she ended up in that wooded area. And it didn't explain the gap, the hours and possibly days, between 9:17 p.m. on June 11th and the moment investigators found her. In a case like this, attention almost always turns to the husband. This one is no different. Brandon Slice was the one who reported Elena missing the day after she failed to come home. According to private investigator Harry Dukes, Slice has been cooperating with investigators throughout the search, described by Dukes, in his own words, as distraught over his wife's disappearance. Inspector Missy Silcox addressed the question directly when reporters raised it. Speaking on the record, she stated that Slice is not considered a person of interest at this time. No footage has been released placing him near Old Cherokee Road that night. No phone records made public. No statement from investigators suggesting he followed her or had contact with her after she left that gym. That doesn't erase the questions hanging over the marriage. Sandra Campbell's claim about a possible separation is still out there, still unconfirmed. But a claim from a friend is not the same thing as evidence in a case file. And right now, as far as the public record shows, that case file contains nothing pointing at her husband. It's a distinction worth sitting with. Suspicion travels faster than evidence. In this case, so far, the evidence hasn't caught up to the suspicion at all. It's also worth saying plainly, in almost every case like this one, the husband or partner draws scrutiny first. That's standard. Statistically, it's where investigators often start. But starting there isn't the same as ending there. And right now, the only people on record stating where this investigation currently stands are the police themselves. and what they've stated is that Slice is not a person of interest, not ruled out forever, not cleared completely, just not where the investigation is currently focused. That could change as the autopsy results come in. It could also stay exactly where it is. Either way, it's not something this video, or anyone outside SLED, can determine right now. SLED is now leading the investigation, and that detail alone says something. This isn't being treated as a routine recovery, it's being handled as exactly what it is, an active death investigation, with cause and manner still undetermined. Local police departments routinely hand cases like this over to SLED, specifically because it removes any appearance of a conflict of interest. An outside agency, with its own forensic resources, takes the lead, which is exactly what's happening here. An autopsy was scheduled for Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, at the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston. Investigators have said they expect to release findings on cause and manner of death soon afterward, though officials have also cautioned that a full final determination could take longer than that, especially if toxicology results are needed. Reporters covering the story have reached out directly to SLED for additional comment, and as of now, the agency has not added anything beyond confirming it has taken over the investigation. Until that report comes back, every theory floating around this case remains exactly that, a theory not confirmed, not ruled out, just open, sitting in the same uncertain space the entire investigation has occupied since the night Elena disappeared. Here's where this case actually stands, stripped of speculation. A woman left her gym on a Thursday night, walking in the direction of home. Cameras caught her one last time, 9:17 p.m., a parking lot, a road she knew well. A week before that, the same woman stood confused at a stranger's door, unsure of where she was or what she was doing. 2 weeks before that, she told a friend, in plain words, that she was scared for her life. And 6 days after she vanished, she was found in the woods near that same road she'd last been seen walking. Every one of those facts is real. None of them, standing alone, tells the full story. A frightened woman, a disoriented woman, a missing woman. Now, a woman confirmed dead, with a cause and manner of death still locked behind an autopsy report that hasn't been released. Was this a homicide? Investigators haven't said so. Was it a medical or mental health crisis that ended in tragedy? They haven't said that either. Right now, both remain on the table, and so does every possibility in between. What investigators have said is this: the case is active. The questions are still open, and the people who loved Elena Moore are left holding two very different versions of her final weeks. Fear on one side, confusion and withdrawal on the other, with no official answer yet to tell them which one explains what actually happened to her. Think about how strange this timeline actually is, laid end to end. A woman with no history beyond ordinary anxiety, a career built on discipline and routine, a marriage less than a year old, and then, in the space of a few weeks, 3 separate and very different signals. Fear voiced to a friend, disorientation caught on a stranger's doorbell, and finally, silence. Any one of those by itself might mean very little. People get anxious, people have off days, people go quiet on social media for reasons that have nothing to do with danger. But 3 signals stacked together in the final weeks of someone's life, that's not nothing. That's the kind of pattern investigators are now working backward through, trying to figure out which thread, if any, actually led to that wooded area off Old Cherokee Road. Elena Moore has been found, but the most important question hasn't been. What happened in the time between her final walk past that Publix parking lot and the moment she was found in those woods? We'll be following this case closely as new details come out, including the results of the autopsy. If you want to stay updated when that happens, please subscribe to this channel. This case is still developing. If anything reported here turns out to be incorrect as new, confirmed information comes from investigators, we will update you. And if this story affected you, or if it raised anything difficult around fear, safety, or mental health, please don't carry that alone. Reach out to someone you trust or a professional who can help.